So my name's Sean. I'm going to teach you a class on the touchscreen instruments, yada yada. Okay, so this is, like I said, when you turn these on, this is your virtual orchestra. So when you turn it on, you are hiring a full orchestra. And I'm going to play an example first before we get started. I got to switch around here. I've been sitting on this bench all day, kind of turned toward the camera here, and now I feel like I've been riding a horse all day because I kind of riding it like a saddle here. So I hope you guys like jazz music. I'm going to play a little bit of jazz music. And what I did when I hired my orchestra to play this is I made a whole bunch of changes here. And I'm going to teach you how to do that today. I'm going to teach you how to kind of customize your bandmates here, okay? So you're still the conductor. Here is your orchestra. I'm just going to play kind of a medley of a few songs that have nothing to do with each other. If you are familiar with the chat feature in here, I encourage you to go ahead and try to guess the names of the songs I'm playing, and you can type them in there. And afterward, I'll see if you're right. And toward the end of the workshop here, I'll tell you what rhythm style I was using, so you'll have to kind of think about that too. All right, here we go. And you're going to hear all these band members come in one by one. Let's start with the drummer. All right, thank you very much. Let's do this. Oh, no applause. I hit the wrong button. All right. So let's see if we got some guesses here at some of those songs. Rock Around the Clock. Perfect. There was that second one. Oh, yep. Let's do it. Let's fall in love. So I did Putting on the Ritz. Let's do it. Let's fall in love. And then I did Rock Around the Clock, and I've got rhythm at the end there. So just a fun example of how you can kind of put together a bunch of different songs really easily here and kind of use your band to your advantage. So the members of that band, you probably heard a piano player in the back. You heard a bass player, a drummer, and then for my melody sounds, I had a piano, and then I had a little alto saxophone. Well, how did I do that background here? Let's talk about that. Here is our class. So to kind of make it easier here, I'm going to show you the members of your band first. So we'll start with the simple one here. Let's look at this here. Members of your virtual orchestra.
He's going to show us how to get in.
So it should say here,
Yeah.
drums. And this is the first one. So what I have here is I'm going to go down the list here. There are 5 of them. Number 1, drums. You have a drummer. There's a picture of a drum set there, and that's kind of what the buttons look like on your instrument. If you want to turn that on or off, you hit the down arrow, it turns them down. Up arrow turns them up. So I'll go over these real quick, and then I'll kind of show you an example of what each sounds like. So the other member of your backing band here, you have a bass player. They look like that. So on the right side, that's what a bass looks like, and on the left side there, it shows you what your buttons look like. And you should mostly have them on tabs if you have what's called an EX series instrument. It should be on tabs. If you have anything A series or SU series, they will just be orange buttons. But pretty much every instrument, they will be orange. So you have 2 different choices. You can hire one bassist, and if you don't like him, you can fire him and hire a different one. Okay, so as we move along here, your next member is what's called your basic player, or your genie in some instruments. And that's what the button looks like. On the EX, it says basic. If you have anything that's like an A series or SU series, it will say genie. So write that down if you have one of those. Write genie. And that's going to be your strummer. So as you can see from the picture there, there's either a piano player or a guitarist. It's just going to be your basic backing rhythm musician. And then as we move along, we get the extra players. You all have a button called Orc Plus, short for Orchestra Plus. And that's where you see all these different band members. You got trumpets, trombones, clarinet, saxophone. These are all your extra players that you might have kind of in addition and doing what's called comping, where they're kind of playing in between all this stuff. And lastly, this one, some people don't know about. It's called your lower keyboard sounds. So what it looks like, there's a couple different ways to control it. The main way, if you want to just turn it on or off, there is a red tab on all of your instruments, and it says lower tabs. If you want to turn that off, you touch it, and it turns off. Now, if you look at the little symbols next to it, it's usually either a string or organ sound, just playing whatever chord you told it to. So let's hear all this stuff in an example here. I'm going to try to zoom out on this so you can see all of it at once. Hopefully we can do that. Oh, too small. Woo! Okay. So I'm going to just show you an example. I'm going to put on a rhythm called Frank and the Count. All of you have this here. So I'm just going to turn on, let me show you here. I just put on I'll just show you what I'm doing here. This is kind of neat. I have a couple different camera angles here. So what I did, hopefully you can see that screen on the top right. All I did was touch my big band button on the left side here. Or if you have standards, you can touch standards. And then on my touch screen here, I kind of put it from over here to on a TV so you can read it a little better. It might still be blurry, but I chose Frank and the Count, and that is all I have done. So I'm just going to pretend I just turned on the instrument and I put on that Frank and the Count rhythm. Let's go back to, yikes, my face here. And then I'm going to share that screen one more time, and let's go through as an example. Okay. So let's listen to Frank and the Count here with all of our band members. This is right when you turn on the rhythm, and I'm just going to touch a C chord. Now I'm going to go through and turn off different members of the band one at a time. Actually, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to start with just number one. I'm going to go through and turn them all off except my drummer. So that's what that sounds like if I add my other band members in one at a time. Let's put my bass player in. I'm going to touch the auto bass number 1 button. There he is. You guys hear that? Good, good. Now let's add my Genie, or basic player, which is going to be just regular guitar rhythm. Very simple. Now Orchestra Plus adds in all those extra guys. And now that lower tab, probably kind of hard to hear that lower tab button when all the other things are going on because it's a lot at one time. But just know that if we get this question all the time, it just keeps humming in the background. There's this hum. That is the hum. That's your hummer, is the lower tabs. So if you ever want to turn that off, it's right in the center of your instrument. Actually, let me do this. Then you guys can really see it here. Got my little handheld guy here. Right in the center of your tabs. Well, that's a little blurry, but that's okay. You can hopefully see what it says. It says lower tabs, that red tab right there. Well, that controls all of these tabs on the left side here. And if I turn it off, even if those other tabs are lit, if those lights are on, it's still not gonna play. So that won't make any noise. So just turn off that red lower tabs button. All right, let me get the right camera there. Okay, a little complicated here, but so that's where your hum is going to be. So now, real quick, I'm just going to kind of go through it backwards so you can kind of hear it the other way. And I'm going to turn them on one at a time, going the opposite way. So if you only have those tabs on, my drummer is off, and all these other musicians are off, there's your hum. That's just the hum by itself here. And if I add them in kind of backwards, we'll start with Orchestra Plus. Genie. Bass. And drums. Now, the reason it's important to know all those things is creating arrangements. You saw this morning, most of you saw, or I guess early afternoon, saw Joe Fontesha today, and he taught a lesson, and what he was, or not taught a lesson, he played a concert, and what he did is he used presets or setups that he made himself. And the reason we do that a lot is you can really get into arranging a song and knowing these musicians that you hired and knowing which ones to keep on board and which ones to say, you go home for the day, I don't want you. And that's kind of what I did in the beginning. I actually used a rhythm, and I'll tell you what it is now. The rhythm that I used for that medley I played with my jazz band there, that was actually a rhythm called Vegas Big Band, which if you listen to the rhythm style, I'm just going to touch it on the screen there, Vegas Big Band. And if I play that the way it comes up, here's what it sounds like. Pretty similar to the last one. But I said when I wanted to play with a little jazz band. I like that sound of just a small combo, or you can do this with country music as well. Sometimes you don't want all those fiddle players or, slide guitars going all over the place in the background. Or here's the example I used with a student the other day. They wanted to play a song, and they were trying to use the serenade style. So if you go in your, let me show you here. If you go to your screen, if you touch the swing button, and you touch serenade here, it gives you the perfect rhythm to play Moonlight Serenade, which Joe played earlier. It sounds like this. So you can hear all those backing musicians kind of playing in between because it's made to play that specific song. But so you want to play a different song with that. What if I want to play something like this? Well, now all those guys in the background there are kind of, how do you say it, annoying. They're all kind of playing over you at the same time, and you might not like that. So the easiest way to control that is those buttons that I showed on the screen there. Let me put it back up so you can see it now. So you see those ones that say, Orchestra Plus? All you have to do is touch that button and shut them up. And if you don't like that hum in the background, turn off that last button, lower tabs. Ooh, now listen. So now it sounds a lot more clean. There's not as much going on at the same time. I have a quick pop quiz. How do you get it to stay that way? What if you like the sound you just found? You turned off some of the band members that you don't want. What do you do next? What if I change presets?
Thank.
Go ahead.
Accompaniment lock.
Perfect, perfect. We got a couple good answers there. I heard the main one here was accompaniment lock. Let me do this here. Accompaniment lock. And what that does is it saves whatever you just did. So it looks like this. Let me go to this one. There we go. So your lock is usually toward the center of the instrument here. If you have an SU series or one of the earlier A series, it's over on this section. But on this one here, it's right here. So when I touch it, I get these different options on my screen. And one of them says accomp, which is short for accompaniment lock. So if you want to lock those band members the way you have them, where you put it the way you like it, you touch on, and it'll turn it on.
Okay.
So now if I go between different presets and setups in the center here, it won't change my background. So now I can play that whole song like I just did earlier. I can play a whole song and it won't goof up my background. I can say I want to start with something like a trombone. And so on. I'll stop there. But you can kind of go through and change your sounds, and the background you have will stay the same. It won't keep going all over. So that's part one. Do I have any questions on anything I've talked about so far? I like it when you guys get involved, so if you have any questions, please go ahead and either ask or raise your hand. Like, Amy, you got a question? Go ahead. Amy? Maybe not.
John,
Yes?
Barbara Allen.
Oh, hi, go ahead.
How do you increase the volume or decrease the volume on Orc Plus?
Great question. Let me get my mobile camera here. I'm going to switch real quick, and it's going to be on the left side of your instruments where it says graphic mixer. Really hard for me to kind of bend that way. But on the right side of that, it should say either Orc Plus or Style. And it's always going to be the blue volume buttons. The reason for that is if you notice all these style buttons are blue, right? If you want to turn down the volume of those rhythm styles, the accompaniment part, or specifically the Orc Plus, you turn that Orc Plus or Style button down. Okay? Same with the bass or lower. If you don't want them to go away completely, you can change their volumes, as well as your drummer over here in the center. So let me switch back. Sorry if this is a quick view here. Woo! That's my little table that I have here, just so you know. Okay, so that's the answer to that one. Let's go to Amy. Go ahead.
Do you hear me?
I sure can. I can even see you.
Okay, I'm using my iPhone. I'm looking at my Rialto. What is the other name for accompaniment plus? Because I cannot find it here.
It's called Orchestra Plus, and it's on there. It should be.
Oh yeah, I see Orchestra Plus. Is
there
that
you
the
go.
accompaniment? Okay.
Yep.
That's accompaniment plus. That's the same one.
Well,
okay,
it's just called Orchestra Plus, Orc Plus. Yep.
Oh, okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And then Helen, go ahead, Helen.
How do you change the sound for your the main one that's playing, the soloist?
The orchestra, do you mean, or do you mean the melody sounds that
the melody
he's using? So whatever you're playing here, is that the question? Mm-hmm. Oh gosh, there's a bunch of ways you can change that. The main way is just to touch a number 1 through 10.
I know those, but if say you wanted the accordion,
okay,
or some special one that's not on that, how would you do that?
Use your categories. So you have different ways to find certain instruments that you like. If you want an instrument that might be, you know, what's considered a Latin instrument, you know, you'd click on that one, and it just changes all these numbers to be Latin instruments. Or if I want an accordion, for example, there's a category called Around the World, and if I choose that one, then I actually have a French accordion, you know. So what I would say is just start with looking through those 10 numbers. If you can't find what you're looking for, try to find it by category.
Or quick picks.
Or quick picks. But that's another class in itself. We could do a whole class on that. But let's today focus more on the left side. Let's talk about our bandmates. Of course. So we'll talk more about that. I've got a couple more things I want to get to. So that kind of leads me into it anyway. So you can actually, here's the cool part, and this is what I love to do. This is really fun. You can customize your band members too. Not just turn them off or turn them on or turn the volume up, turn the volume down. You can trade them out, just like a basketball team, you know. You can say, I don't want those players, I want somebody else. So let's look at, for example, what I started with. That first song I played, I used the rhythm Vegas Big Band. So let's look at that on our screen. There's Vegas Big Band. And here's what's really, really cool. On the left sides of your touch screen, if you have more than one, it'll have a button that on the very top that says touch here to edit style. I guess I could show you real quick just so you know what I'm looking at. Let me do this. No. So on the left side, you can barely see it. It's kind of cut off up there, but it says touch here to edit style. Woo! So all you do, if you want to edit that, you touch there. So also, if you're on an EX series, it'll say that as well. It'll say style, and on the sort of center of the screen, it'll say edit. So you can edit it right there. And let me show you what comes up when you touch that. So when I touch it, oh, it's still saved what I had on earlier because it's still locked. Okay. So this is what comes up. And here's what's cool. That Orchestra Plus button, the reason they call it Orchestra Plus is you have a +1, a +2, a +3, a +4. It's like bringing 4 +1s to a wedding, you know? So you've got several that you can choose from here. And right when you turn on a rhythm, they're all playing at the same time. So here, for an example, is if I wanted to play that Vegas big band style and I didn't do any editing, this is what it sounds like when I turn it on. So there's a lot going on at once, right? You have your drummer, your bass player, as always, and then you have your genie or basic sound, and on here it's a guitar. So let's turn everything else off real quick and listen to that. So there's drums, bass, and your guitar player. I turned off all these other guys. But now, for example, say I want to play that rhythm, but I only want the piano. I don't want these other ones, strings or saxophones or brass, because there's just too much noise. I want to send them home. Say, go home. I touch on the screen here, right where it says that Orc 2. I could say, I want to send the string section home. You're off. You're off the clock for the day. And I can go to the other ones, do the same thing. And I can even turn my genie off here if I want to. If I just touch it on the screen. Or I can do it on the panel still, just like before. And now I get a totally different sounding style. Now it sounds like this. So I took out all those other guys, and I have a nice little jazz combo now. Just piano, drums, and bass. And like I said before, if you want to keep it that way, lock it. Because now I can change my right hand sound anytime I want, and it won't affect anything I'm doing on the left hand. So I can say I want to play with a piano, and that's it. Now I play my song. So I kind of whittled my band down right there from all those guys playing at the same time. You know, the strings, the saxophone section, a brass section. I sent them all home, and I kept it simple and said, I just want the piano player. So it gives you a nice little simple rhythm to play with. But it still has enough color so it doesn't walk all over you or you walk all over them. It's so fun to do that. So the second step, too, you know, if you want to, you can save that to your banks if you're familiar with that. We've taught a lot of classes on that. You can look at on YouTube and things like that. So if you like the way it sounds, save it. Save it for later. Save it for tomorrow. And you can even expand on it. So start a song with just like I did. This time I just started with, when I did it in the beginning, I started with just drums. And then bass, and then I brought in the piano. I don't even have to play anything. They sound good on their own. But it's a lot of fun to kind of customize and go through. The last part, before I get to any questions so far, hopefully this is stuff you can use. It's really simple. It looks like a lot of stuff, but I'm just turning 2 buttons off or 3 buttons off, and then you can lock it in and save it that way. So it's really not too difficult to do. And I hear a lot of people say things like, oh, I want to play this song, but I can't think of a rhythm to use, and this one's too noisy, this one has this going on, and this. So pick a rhythm that might work well, tempo-wise and the same kind of beat, and then just send those band members home, right? Fire them. All right, any questions so far?
Sean, when I touch mine and it turns blue, it doesn't go off. How did you make it go off?
Are you talking about the setup screen here? The one that I had up on the TV?
When I got the sounds up and it said edit sounds, if I
Like
touch, but mine doesn't come up to look like that, Sean.
What instrument do you have?
I have a marquee.
Okay. Do you not, this doesn't come up at all? You don't see this?
Yeah, well, I see that, but it says edit sounds, and then it says just touch and scroll, like I can change them, but it doesn't show me.
Oh, because you're
how to
touching
shut it
edit
off.
sounds, not editing the style. On your instrument, I wish I had a picture ready. I don't. But on the left side of your screen.
Okay, I got it. I got it.
Yeah,
I
it's
see.
kind of, if you have that big
Oh,
screen,
I
it just
see
says
now.
edit.
Thank you. I'm good.
You're
I
welcome.
got
You're
it.
welcome.
Thank you.
That's a good question. Yeah, of course. But that's how you pull it up on the screen. And Amy, did you have another question?
Are the locks reset when you turn off the computer?
Amy, you're muted if you're talking. Did you have a question? Your
Yeah.
hand's raised.
Yeah. Are the locks reset?
I have to
when you
unmute
turn off
myself.
the
There
off?
you go. I hear you.
Yeah, I have the same question with the lady. I have Rialto. And when I turned off, let's say piano, it turns blue. Now, from what you told her, I have to turn off or press the left one. So it's off.
Correct. That's it.
Okay, so
Yeah, you just touch it like I
touch.
said on the screen here. Let me show you one more time. On that screen here, I'm touching the touch screen, so you can't see it on here, but all you do is you touch. If you want to turn that genie off, just touch where it says genie,
They don't pick up
and
when
that
you
turns
try.
it off, so it'll say off. Now,
We can try her anyway.
who's talking? Somebody's talking. Let me mute some people. Sorry, I just couldn't hear. Does that answer your question, Amy? You just touch the button that you want to turn off. So if you want to turn off this piano, you
Okay.
touch this ORC+1 button, and
Okay.
it turns them off.
Okay, now how you
Okay.
turn it back on? Turn off, touch
I'll let
the
you
off?
guess. I'll let you guess. How do you
Okay,
think you
I
turn
did-
it back on?
I just turned off, I just pressed the off button. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. You touch it again. Yep. Perfect. All
Okay.
right. Any more questions? I saw a couple other people unmuted themselves. I didn't know if they had a question.
I got a question.
Mitch?
Yes. Are the locks reset when you turn off the organ?
I can barely hear you. Can you speak
Where am
into
I
a mic or?
Where's my mic?
I don't know.
Are the locks
get-
reset when you turn off the organ?
Right.
Will the locks reset? Yes, they will. When you hit the reset button, it'll turn it all back to normal. Whoops, hit a wrong button. Yeah, when you reset the instrument, it'll clear all that stuff that you did, even if you have it locked. So that's why I said if you want to save it for later, save it for another time, you want to save those settings to your bank presets, which we have some videos on as well on YouTube and things like that. And I'm sure we'll teach again because we keep on going. But that's a different class. So, but yes, it'll clear that out. So the last thing I want to mention is we have one more thing you can do here. And this is where you can get really creative if you want to. You don't have to. But check this out. If I am on a screen like that, if you want to change the sound of some of these instruments, let's turn all these off real quick and leave it so I just have that piano here. There's my piano and drums. If I touch that button, Not this one, but if I touch the one that says the word piano, it'll turn blue. And guess what? I can use my scroll buttons over here, and I can totally change the type of instrument that is playing. This is where you get really in-depth if you want to. I can make my jazz band sound like a toy if I want to. Sounds kind of dumb, but you can make it an electric piano as well. I like to do that. There's one called Whirly that I think is kind of cool. So you can change it to do anything you want. And you can do that for each of these. You can tell the strings, I don't want regular strings, I want, you know, a theremin. You can get really crazy on these. So that's just an idea. You don't have to. And kind of sort of self-explanatory, those ones on the right here, as you might have guessed, those are volumes. So say one of them's just a little bit, you like it, but maybe it's just a little bit too loud. You touch it, and you scroll down. All right. Does all that make sense to everybody? There's all sorts of neat things you can do with that. You know, I like taking some instruments, and you might not want to change it too much and make it crazy, like have a bunch of kazoos in the background. It'll sound like a little goofy. But maybe one of them you want to just kind of customize a little bit, make it sound more like you would like it. So, you have a question, Carolyn? Go ahead.
Sean, you just highlighted volume, dropped it down. However, the off button, off. Therefore, if you drop the volume down, you have to go back and turn on your
Yeah.
on and off.
Yeah,
Some
definitely.
people may not know
Like
that.
if she's saying if it says off here, no matter what this volume is on this side, you're not going to hear it until you turn it on. That is correct. So if I have that on and it says that, that'll be my volume. And what's kind of neat is you can take different ones and have different combinations of these backing musicians. You can have 2 of them on, 3 of them on, none of them on, anything you want. So good point. All right, let me put my face on here again. Ah! Okay, so let's see. I have maybe one more question, and then I'm going to give you some info, because don't leave yet. Got a couple of important announcements, especially we have more coming up today. We have a finale concert by Joe Fontesha that is going to be fantastic. So don't miss it. I'll tell you how to get onto that in just a second. Amy, did you have another question? Just want to make sure I get everybody.
Yes, Sean. I wanted to ask you this before. What button did you press for Moonlight Serenade?
Great question. On my instrument here, I believe on your instrument, it's
Rialto.
I think it's in the smooth button.
Oh, okay.
But if you touch that, it'll come up on the screen. You'll see something like this, where it'll give you all sorts of different choices. And the rhythm is called Serenade. Okay, so write that down, Serenade.
Okay, thank you so much.
You are very welcome. Whoops. There we go. Go back to this. Clickety click clack. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you know how to get onto the next event, and then what I'm going to do is play a little song just to say sayonara. But I hope you all enjoyed this and took notes and got something out of it. Some of it you might have heard before, but hopefully it gives you ideas of what you can do at home, because that's what's most important. You got all this time. Some of you are stuck at home once in a while. Explore. Try it, customizing those band members, changing them around, and things like that. It's a lot of fun. So as far as announcements, we do have another segment to our event. So let me show you. You should have gotten this email. This is how you got into today's class here. Your email looked exactly like this, and you scrolled down and you clicked on this Elite Touchscreen Model class. But now, after this, it starts in about 15 minutes, but you'll click on that same email, and you'll go all the way to the bottom, and it'll say Day 1 Finale, and you click there. Right where it says click here, you click there. So that's how to get back to our session here. So it won't be on this one. You'll have, when I end this, you'll have to go back to the other one, and we'll see you there. But before we head out now, I'm just going to play one song, and I'm going to use a lot of those features I just talked about. Hopefully I can remember what I was going to do. That's right. I'm going to play a country song, because we don't get enough country music in here. So let's do a country song. This is called I Fall to Pieces. And you'll never guess what rhythm I used for this. I want you to pay attention, and afterward there will be a pop quiz. Well, it won't be a pop because I already told you about it, but there will be a quiz at the end, and I'll ask what rhythm style was that, okay? And if you have used some of yours, hopefully you should recognize it a little bit, but I did a little bit of editing, so you'll have to try to find it here. So, all right, I'm going to get started. This is I Fall to Pieces by Patsy Cline and the Jordanaires. All right, thank you so much. Do we have any guesses at what that rhythm style was called before we close out?
Cab driving.
That is very close. You heard the doo-woppy guys. Well, actually, what I did is I used a rhythm called Spots of Ink to play a country song. So I hired the ink spots in the background so I can play Patsy Cline with them, which is kind of cool. Like I said, the original, it's Patsy Cline and the Jordanaires, which was a gospel vocal group at the time. And they sound a lot like the ink spots, so it's kind of fun to put those two together. Country sounds on my right hand, and I picked the Jordanaires or ink spots on the left hand, so kind of cool. Spots of Ink with Patsy Cline.
Someday I want to grow up to be just like you, Sean.
Well, you don't have to grow up very far. I'm not that tall. So, thanks, and if you have any questions, call a local store, but otherwise you should be able to get back on that email and join us for our concert.
Okay, folks, so let's give a big round of applause. And in case he probably already said it, but there's the email. There's the email. If you just go right back and click on one of the two, you can join from the website or here. We're going to have the concert starting, oh my goodness, in 10 minutes. You better hurry up and drive real fast to get back to that link.
You got to get a good seat.
Gotta get a good seat. Hurry up, fast. Another round of applause for Sean Maloney, everybody.
Great job.
Yay, Sean. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you. I learned
Good
a lot.
class.
I'm supposed to blow a kiss goodbye or something, Sean.